Today I am going to explain a drama fantasy film called Ricky. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie begins with a tired mother of two named Katie contemplating putting her baby Ricky up for adoption. Katie works a low-wage job at a cosmetics factory and lives in welfare housing in eastern Paris. She says she hasn't been able to look after Ricky and her daughter Lisa by herself after her partner left her. The social worker reminds her that abandoning a child is a big decision, and she should spend more time making sure that she is taking the right step. For the meantime, the social worker offers to see if domestic help can be arranged for Katie to help her look after the baby. Katie is also advised to file a police report that her baby's father has abandoned her. The movie then flashes back to the past before baby Ricky was born. After waking up, Lily opens the curtains and wakes up her perennially tired mother. Lily then heads to the kitchen and begins preparing breakfast for herself and her mother. The mother-daughter then take a shower and have breakfast together before leaving for Lily's school in Katie's scooter. Katie promises to pick her up later before kissing her goodbye and heads to her work. At the factory, Katie locks eyes with a man named Paco Sanchez. Paco walks up to her during a cigarette break and introduces himself. Katie lends him a cigarette, and Paco reveals that he recently started working at the factory. One thing leads to another, and the two end up hooking up in the washroom. As a result, Katie takes time finishing her daily work quota and gets in trouble with her boss, who scolds her for being lazy. Katie also arrives late to pick up Lily from school. Moreover, she forgets to bring Lily's helmet and she is forced to give Lily her own helmet on their ride back home. The next day, Paco meets Katie outside the factory. Katie expresses her embarrassment over the fact that they hooked up right after their first meeting, saying it is usually not her style. Paco resonates with her, saying he doesn't hook up on first dates either. After making some more small talk, Paco asks her out on a date. Katie, who has been longing for company, couldn't be more excited, and she accepts the date, much to Lily's dismay, who wanted to play dress-up with her mother. At the date, Paco asks Katie about Lily's father, and she reveals that he lives in southern France. Lily's father wanted Katie to abort her, so he wants nothing to do with Katie and their daughter. Meanwhile, Paco reveals that he was briefly married in Spain when he was young. After the date, Katie takes him back home and the two make love again. Poor Lily has a hard time falling asleep due to the sound of Katie and Paco's lovemaking. The next day, Lily wakes up to Katie and Paco having breakfast together. Katie tries to introduce her daughter to her date, but the little girl isn't interested, and she runs back to her room. To spend more time with Paco, Katie also signs Lily up for the school bus service, and Paco eventually moves into Katie's home. A year passes by, and Katie becomes pregnant with Paco's child. One day, Paco gets a call at work from the hospital and learns that Katie has unexpectedly gone into labor. He rushes to be by Katie's side with Lily. After Katie gives birth to a healthy baby boy, Paco asks Lily for suggestions for the baby's name, and Lily names the baby Ricky. Paco turns Lily's room into a nursery, much to her dismay, and she begins to feel sidelined by her mother, who spends most of her time with the new baby. Lily also doesn't like the fact that Katie keeps insisting that Lily call Paco dad. Katie, spending most of her time looking after the baby, also begins to take a toll on her relationship with Paco, and one day, Lily catches Paco cozying up to another woman outside their apartment building. However, Lily decides to keep it to herself. Paco later returns home late, saying he was out with his friends. Paco's changed attitude worries Katie, and the two get into an argument. However, the two make up before going to bed, promising to be there for each other more. Soon, Katie starts going to work again, and Paco is left to look after the baby during the day. One day, when Katie returns home, she notices a strange bruise on baby Ricky's back. She asks Paco about it, lets him fly in his room unbeknownst to Katie, who is taking a shower. Suddenly, the doorbell rings and it is revealed to be Paco. Lily calls out for her mother, who asks Lily to leave her alone with Paco. Katie and Paco apologize to each other and quickly rekindle their relationship, much to Lily's dismay. Lily expresses her concern to her half-brother, who has flown over to the top of the closet yet again. She is upset because she feels that now that Paco is back again, Katie will spend most of her time with him and Ricky. Meanwhile, Paco reveals that all this time, he worked in a restaurant in Paris. When Katie asks if he had any affairs, he tells her that he hooked up with one or two women, but it wasn't anything serious. Later, Paco meets his son. Baby Ricky doesn't recognize his father and tries to fly away when Paco attempts to hold him. Worried about Ricky hurting himself, Katie calls him towards herself, but Paco's presence scares the baby and he refuses to come down. They eventually manage to bring the baby down and Paco points out that the room is too dangerous for Ricky to grow up in, but Katie tells him to shut up because she doesn't want to be separated from her son. They learn that baby Ricky has hurt himself from all the flying, and they immediately call the doctor. Dr. Bernard treats Ricky's wound and reiterates Paco's point. He says that the apartment is not safe for Ricky to grow up in. Dr. Bernard also suggests a surgical procedure to remove Ricky's wings, which he calls safe but painful. However, Katie refuses to put her baby through a surgery. Later that night, Lily has the urge to cut Ricky's wings off with a pair of scissors, but before she goes through with it, Paco arrives outside the room to kiss his son goodnight, prompting Lily to run back to her bed. The next day, over breakfast, Paco suggests allowing the media to make a documentary on Ricky in exchange for money. He says this would give the family proper monetary resources required to look after Ricky. This makes Katie upset, and she accuses Paco of returning back to their life so he could make a buck off of Ricky. However, Paco insists that he only returned to look after his family, and reminds Katie how she previously baselessly accused him of beating Ricky, asking her to trust her this time. After a lot of convincing, Katie gives him the permission to film Ricky. The next day, on Paco's request, Dr. Bernard calls the press in front of Katie's apartment complex for Ricky's media debut. Katie and Paco present themselves as a happy married family even though they aren't married. They also put a rope on Ricky to keep him from flying away. To demonstrate Ricky's ability, they let go of him as Katie holds the rope. The baby begins to fly like a bird, much to everyone's astonishment. Katie is also excited to see her baby fly so high for the first time, and as a result, she gets lost in the moment and accidentally lets go of the rope. Ricky flies away, prompting Katie and others to chase after the baby. Passing through the lake, Ricky flies into the woods. After waiting for a while, the media loses interest in Ricky and leaves, but Katie refuses to move from her spot. Dr. Bernard later joins Paco by the lake and suggests that Ricky must have been shot by a hunter or is starving to death somewhere. Upset, Paco blames himself and laments that Katie will never forgive him for this. For the next few days, Katie and others spend their time distributing missing posters for Ricky around the market, but in vain. Several weeks pass by and others move on with their life, but Katie still longs for her son. One day, she leaves her home for yet another walk by the lake. It turns out the despondent Katie has decided to end her life. However, as she proceeds to drown herself, she hears Ricky's voice and his flapping wings as he returns. Overjoyed, Katie runs towards her baby, who has considerably grown up. The baby looks happy, and Katie apologizes to him, saying that she let go of him because he looked so happy in the air. The baby then flies away, and Katie realizes that Ricky's happiness is in the air. She returns home and lovingly embraces her family after a long while. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.